Oh, Michelle again.
Hi, Mindo. How are you?
Very good. So we are meeting after a little while on the journey to full consciousness. And last time we met, you were passing through the awareness into the great void region of rest and softening. So we can discuss today about your journey into the divine region and into the full consciousness and how you are settling into it as well. So, would you like to share a bit what you remember passing through the void and into the divine?
The void was a very interesting place. It was the first time that I felt like I could drop a lot of things, that I could drop a lot of questioning and searching. It was relaxing, but my mind is definitely used to searching, and that was at times a little challenging. I went back and forth. I would settle in and I thought, where's the questioning, the searching? But it was a really important phase just to sort of let things go. It was it was definitely necessary. It's definitely a place of gathering strength too, because a lot of unconscious material still comes to the surface, and it helps to be really calm so that when things surface, there's not really too much disturbance. There's sort of a clarity and like an ability to handle things as they come up. For me, at least that was my experience. So because that is of interest to me, to allow unconscious patterns to surface, that's sort of an interest of mine, that I like that. And because I feel like that's part of what the journey is about, is sort of dissolving limitations. And so the void was a place to not only for some of that to surface, but to kind of settle in and just relax and sort of allow that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Oh, indeed. And how was your journey a shift into the divine light?
That's a very special time. And that was very softening, like my own self, inside. I felt a lot of softening and more of what you think of as love, not in the attachment ways, because attachments were really dissolving very fast. It was very lovely. And part of it happened during a retreat that we were on. And then as I came home, I thought maybe it was just the retreat energy, but it was definitely just stayed as my life continued. And it was a breakthrough time in my life as well. Just in my regular life, it was a breakthrough of some new opportunities, and it was a huge opening.
Mhm. Yes, I remember it synchronized with your life experience for a greater freedom.
It did. It just
Yes.
happened to definitely be that way, that my life was becoming free and with new opportunities, and new opportunities to see what's not loving, my own patterns and conditionings, and work through that with a different clarity and different softness.
Divine love, it comes through as the first light of the self. Now, to really start sensing the homeness, the self coming through.
Mhm.
How was your experience at that stage?
These things are very hard to put into words. How would that be described? It's just a greater sense of you can feel the soul presence in the body, and just a far greater feeling of contentment, which is really what I always wanted. And so as each opening happens, there's just more of an opportunity to settle down and feel like what you would say the soul presence existing even as life goes on. And it's a very interesting process to feel that happen.
And then transitioning into the supra-causal truth, that clarity to see through things. How was your journey through it?
I really wanted to be on my own a lot. I really had a deep processing through that period, and I wanted to be in my own, and life wasn't really allowing that too much as I work outside the home and interact a lot. And so it was very interesting to feel myself collected more and more inside, but while still having to interact all the time, really. But I found there was some art of acting from this centered place where I could feel this great clarity with everything that was coming my way. I could see through situations much more easily than before. I could see how I was interacting with life with greater clarity. And clarity is really a key word because that's what increases more and more. And a lot of fear just continuously dissolving. I had collected a lot of fear early childhood over certain experiences, and this was just taking a while to dissolve. And that was happening a lot in that time period for some reason. Probably also the divine love. That was a time for fear to dissolve.
Yes, and to
Um,
allow this greater light, greater love to integrate.
mhm.
So that the pockets of fear, they need to go away for this greater consciousness to come through.
Mm-hmm. They're almost impersonal at that point as these pockets rise, and I just felt a greater clarity, getting a far greater insight.
And how is your relationship with your attention and focus versus the light behind?
For me, this was a continuing of my focus. You would say softening in many instances and not fixated. Fixations dissolve and dissolve more and more. But it's sort of a paradox because then the things that I need to concentrate on, because there's things to concentrate on, there's less distraction in order to do that. So there was a softening of distracting energies, I guess you'd say, fixations or distracting energies, and far greater focus on what's important and just a clarity. So,
When you were inquiring into who am I, what would you say arises, or who are you behind the attention, focus, and energies?
who am I? You can feel that it's not what I ever thought before. Before, who I thought I was, well, just all of the collection of things you would say about yourself. I do this, I'm whatever. But after quite a while, there's just a sensation of not a person in the sense of, I'm this, but more of just a sensation of existence.
Of course, you can witness that there is the body, the phenomena, and so on, but there's no fixation to it. Or even if something practical arises and you need to play a role, but you would know that you're not only that. How is it lived for you? What is consciousness for you, full consciousness for you?
Believe it or not, I used to worry about this. Maybe 3 years ago, I thought, oh, but how would you live in full consciousness? Because how do you remember that you have an appointment or whatever? And you said, well, it's on my calendar. I just, you know what you're supposed to do. You have your calendar. You don't lose your mind. But I had ideas about things. I had a lot of ideas, maybe from a lot of reading or a lot of information collected. And so I didn't understand. And so over time, what I found is that as different energies have dissolved, it changes the way that I function in my life. And so if I go back 6 months or a year, each period, a lot of things that affected me seem to be gone completely. But sometimes there are deeper things that arise that I have to deal with. And so as it turns out, like day-to-day life, even going to work has become a lot easier than it would have ever been in the past. I don't get my feelings hurt. There used to just be a lot of triggers. And so certain things would hurt my feelings, certain feedback or somebody in the workplace that has a difficult disposition or whatever. Certain things in the past would have really bothered me. And now I don't have that sensation of things coming at me and hurting my feelings or whatever. I just see things clearly and see how I need to adjust myself or how I need to walk away from a certain situation. Or maybe there's a certain way I have a processing that I need to look at. This goes on. And I would say this is the journey of full consciousness is seeing what's real, the true being behind the structure of the body and the mind, and letting everything that's not that just sort of go. And surprisingly in my everyday life, there's a far greater functioning. This has been increasing quite a lot. Although I prefer just to sit in my house and meditate. I would actually like that, but I feel in my personal situation that it's helping me to be in the world quite a lot. And it's become very enjoyable. Like there's this tremendous feeling of contentment and what you would say peace.
The full consciousness comes with a sense of more naturalness.
It does, yes.
Say that you're more natural now than at the beginning of your spiritual journey?
Well, definitely, yeah. I felt, well, in the beginning, I think I was a bundle of just past trauma or whatever, conditionings and trauma. And that's how I was personally, because I came to this without a lot of background, no real meditation or anything. So it's a completely different life. And I feel as time goes on, a lot of maybe life lessons that I came to experience have resolved a lot, at least.
How would you compare yourself, your sense of yourself and who you were, let's say at inner light at the beginning or somewhere in the middle of inner love or unity, and with energies and who you are today?
The feeling of full consciousness is much more natural. In inner light and inner love, I was very interested in the new sensations of almost like the energies that you can feel working through your body and helping with the nervous system. And I would get a little focused on that, and it was a lot of fun. And I really liked it. But now a lot of that is settled. And you used to talk about that full consciousness feels natural. And I think I didn't like to hear that because I thought there was going to be even more sensations of otherworldliness or, I don't know, energies. And in reality, I think you're supposed to feel natural, like it's supposed to be very integrated to feel those energies. It's not supposed to be so noticeable. It should be integrated to where you just naturally feel sort of blissful, but very high functioning in that. rather than being focused on it. Like, ooh,
Mhm.
this blissful energy or whatever. I mean, that's fine, but if you have to go to work, you're going to have trouble with that, right? And so I used to really like those energies, and it was a really great experience. But now I feel like much of that is integrated. So life just feels really natural. I just go on long walks, and my mind doesn't fixate on things. It's just more of a pure existence a lot of the time,
Mhm.
unless something's surfacing to deal with or whatever. But much of the time, it feels like a really pure awareness, like just a very natural seeing of the world. It's very, very pleasant.
Mhm. And if anything arises to be worked upon, you have like laser clarity through it. Mhm.
The sense of personal self just has slowly dissolved to where it's easy to handle what comes up. That's my experience. And that's
Mhm.
what I used to worry about, because there was a time where it was more painful to deal with traumas that came up.
So, looking back now at how humanity functions in the usual sense and how you were functioning, let's say 5 years ago, what could be your summary as to where you are today?
I feel like if everybody, it's almost like full consciousness is always there. If over time all of these traumatic responses to life that have been kind of gathered up just dissolve, and then one feels so natural. It's what I would wish for everybody.
Mhm.
It's a miracle, and it feels like this is the way that people are supposed to exist,
Mhm.
and it's something I wish for everybody. And I can see how bound up I was in certain traumas or very fixated ways of thinking, and I see it in everybody else too. I wish it wasn't that way, and I sort of feel a little sad about it sometimes. But
Yes, the compassion for
uh,
seeing the unnecessary suffering or how everybody's tangled up.
it can be a lifetime of suffering for a lot of people, and I felt like my life was often suffering. And that you just learn how to power through. You have your goals and your ambitions, and I just would power through things, and I think that's what people do. It's very stressful. It's like a life of stress, and I see it in everybody pretty much.
And how would you say now the common spirituality, all the spiritual things, how do you see from this place where you're now?
I see it as a lot of distraction. I mean, in the same way that you could be interested in any hobby, you can have an interest in car racing or knitting or have your favorite TV shows. These are just, I see a lot of the spirituality as just an interest. And I see that it's very easy to get stuck in maybe like the inner love, inner light, inner love, and that because you can start to have a lot of fun, you know. Certain traumas have released just enough for you to start to get a little bit unbound and maybe have a lot of enjoyment. And it can be really fun to start to get into all of the, I mean, you might call it like a spiritual circus. And also to read too much if you're intellectually inclined. I used to like to read, and I just read hundreds of books, but because I'm more mentally inclined. And so I liked to read a lot. And so this becomes a distraction to try to gather more information. Or if you're in inner love, to go into maybe groups where you just try to feel love all the time. And I see a lot of that. And it's fine for a little while, but there's really so much more. There's really so much more that you would, if you could know, you would not stop there. You would not do that and play around for too long, just enough to have fun, and then try to gain more peace, because there's still so much drama and those early but wonderful opening stages. There's still a lot of drama. And it's really nice when the drama starts dropping from life. It's to me, I would wish that for everybody, you know.
How would you say the mental content about spirituality, about enlightenment, about consciousness versus to what it actually is for you?
Most of it is just mental constructs and what people think. Most of it's a regurgitation of information. You have to dissolve. The spiritual journey seems to me now to be about dissolving, because then the full consciousness is behind it. It's behind all of that mental structure. So now I have a lot of books and I'm not interested in any of them. And I'm never interested in listening if the transmission isn't there. So I watch your videos because there's the full transmission. And then sometimes it doesn't even matter if I'm not listening, because it's more to be in an energetic environment. A full consciousness becomes more important, because then the clarity shows me what's true. Without books, it's the clarity shows me what life is. And I think that's what I've learned my whole life, is you go to school and you learn things. And so I liked all those books and concepts too. But they block reality. They really block reality. But I understand the concept of needing to make sense of the world. So I understand that.
Okay, and how would you summarize your life now, your experience now?
I feel like my life is experienced through me, through just an awareness and an openness. And there's still a lot of life to experience. I can feel, how would I say it? I have a certain interest. I think everybody who comes into this has a certain interest, and mine has been to dissolve any karmic patterns, any and all, over time. And so for coming from how I experience things, I have just a great enjoyment of seeing patterns dissolve and seeing life just happening more naturally. And so that's how I experience it in work and my children and in my marriage and the family. Is I look for, I would say, love, but not attachment love, but love to operate through life. And so I'm watching that energy increase in my life, which was a hard one for me. So that for me is how I experience life now. And I think it's very ongoing. And I think even in a couple of years, even this would seem sort of closed in. I think that this is just very ongoing and more opening all the time. It's almost like by the month, there's a greater clarity.
And when these things dissolve, how do you feel then?
I often have just a tremendous further relaxation. It's like greater degrees of a relaxation and openness and clarity as I experience life. It's like a deconditioning of the nervous system over many, many, many years of piling on the stress and the not only of my life, but just the whole collective consciousness. It has a great weight to it. And so each time there's something that resolves in me, I can feel that I just relax, which is sort of understated, because when you relax, that's what you've really been wanting your whole life, you know, like a permanent relaxation.
Yes, yeah. Well, beautiful. Your journey has been amazing and unique because you are so much stable with the family, with your children, with work, with everything. And it's beautiful to witness how the journey to full consciousness works in a very practical way, how it transforms a very practical life. where most people are. They make up all fantasies about what it will be, and you are right here in the middle as an example that the ordinary life can transform fully along the journey to full consciousness, and still everything is as it was, we may say, but now the family, the daughters and husband and work and everything is still here, and yet the way you experience it is so deeper and more rich and beautiful and real and natural. So this is an example of life in full consciousness.